CNBC contributor Walter Isaacson. He's like, he's the author of Elon Musk. And that's, since we were just talking about X and whether it's relevant or not, I don't know if you saw our billionaire, another Steve Leeson report yesterday. The most fascinating thing to me was the most beloved billionaire only got plus 15 because people just hate billionaires, I guess, or they're envious. Warren Buffett. What got me was that Elon was 0, but Zuckerberg and Bezos were like minus 35. So after all this, after fracturing the entire feeling of the country, the tribalism, and now that people are either here with Elon or here with Elon at this point, he still gets a 0. That shows you how fervent his supporters are.
0 meaning that it's balanced. Haters and
haters
lovers.
And lovers, where Zuckerberg's minus 35.
Musk has always been polarizing. Obviously, this year more so.
Not as polarizing as Zuckerberg. He's
but he
minus
has fervent
35.
fans.
Huh? Yeah, he's got
fervent fans.
After Andrew's interview and after the Hamas stuff, I think he's too big to fail. That's what I've come up with. He is too big to cancel, isn't he? He's too big to cancel.
John Oliver just did this piece on him that was sort of critical, but by the end says the same thing, that this guy is all over our lives. We got to understand him, and that's kind of the point of my book, which is he's all over our lives in all sorts of ways, a fascinating character who's going to enrage you, but he's also going to engage you. You got to figure him out.
I'm trying to figure out why he finally gets a pass, and I think it's because even the worst case scenario for Elon, I still understand him. It's just an individual who might have a few flaws, but I don't think he'd really mean anything that would cause him to get canceled.
Well, he's always shooting himself in the foot. He's always about to go on the cliff. But we've seen this since 2008, and especially 2018 when he's doing the pedophile tweets. And then when he buys Twitter, it's amplified.
I forgot about the pedophile tweets.
Man, this is not new. And I must say, after following him for 2.5 years, I'd still say, oh, my God, Twitter is about to go off the cliff. He's going to crash and burn, or this is going to crash and burn.
But nobody's as mad at Twitter as they are at Facebook, apparently, and the damage that Facebook has done to kids and everything else, I guess. Is that why Zuckerberg?
Yeah, I think the kids' problem is there with Facebook.
But Bezos, Becky says it's just from hanging out on yachts with Lauren Sanchez.
I think
constantly.
Bezos would have rated higher a few years ago. I can't figure out why he has such negatives when people love Amazon.
You don't hang around on yachts.
No, I'm trying to figure out why would he get such negative ratings, because I think a few years ago he would not have.
You know what? I'm not sure I believe all these polls.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, people have instinctive reactions. The thing about, I think, Twitter or X is now, because partly of the Gaza, partly of the anti-Semitism fights, the Ivy League fights, in the past month or so, usage has gone up, and not just daily users, but the amount of time they spend on it. So people getting more engaged. Advertising has gone down, mainly because it's brand advertising like Disney that doesn't want to be in a toxic stew. But that's not the main type of advertising you're going to get. You were talking about direct response ads. Once they figure out that you like giving jewelry to your family, or you like buying whatever.
They just need higher quality stuff. The stuff I bought was all garbage.
It was?
Yeah, I bought stuff last holiday season, and I was shocked at the lousy quality of it. They need higher quality stuff that they're pitching.
Well, that's it. I mean, I remember when, it's CNN or Time, and that was it. You fill some of the bad ads with 1-800,
You mean CNN, CBS?
Are they all merging now?
Yes, tell me. We're going to have to do like a rapid fire, because I was just thinking, we haven't asked you about plagiarism in Harvard, and I mean, what a bizarre set of circumstances that we're seeing there with the 700 faculty member, Jason Furman. I can't figure that out. What do you think should happen there? She got any issues with plagiarism? Is she too big to fail for woke reasons?
At the moment, she is.
For woke reasons.
Well, because you can't just run a president out. It's going to take time.
They ran Liz McGill out.
Right, and I don't think that was the greatest of all things. I think you got to take your time here. This has got to play. Harvard's been around almost 400 years. It's going to be around another 400 years. It's even on the Gaza thing. You think, okay, everybody should catch breath for a minute or two, assess things. I think this will play out. I don't think the plagiarism stuff is all that bad. But
Really?
I do think it's part of the atmosphere.
What if the students did that? They'd be out of Harvard immediately.
I've gone through it all. It's some of it is, there are a few where
What if you did it? You would never do
I would.
that.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty careful.
Or
I've got
have you?
footnotes all over the place.
You're enabling.
I haven't seen what she was changing in these later papers. I saw the Harvard statement that said we didn't find her guilty of plagiarism, but she's going to go back and add citations and quotations that she forgot to put in before.
She was never secretive. She cited, she used the names of the people she was paraphrasing in the piece,
read it.
But she didn't put it in quotes. She didn't cite it fully enough. These are things you definitely shouldn't do. I don't think that's the biggest deal. The biggest deal is, can you run a very large, complex institution?
You're a teacher, too, a professor at Tulane. If a student did what she did, what would you do?
I'm more worried about them using ChatGPT or other things.
But seriously, I haven't seen it. If a student were to do
that's what you would teach them. You'd say, hey, it's something I did at Time Magazine when people I'd say, just err on the side of being more generous. Put the person's name. If you're going to use something that was their idea, put it in the paragraph. Don't just bury it in the acknowledgments. So everybody on everything we're doing today should learn to be a little bit more generous. And that's one of the problems we're having with our hair being on fire about everything from college campuses is, take a breath. These things, there are certain things that are really bad happening in this world. Under-citation is not one of them.
We watch professors get fired for misgendering people.
Mm-hmm.
Now they don't get fired for saying, genocide to the... I wouldn't minimize it and just say, take a breath, it's not a big deal.
No, I was talking about the
I know, but just in general, they have screwed up our colleges beyond belief.
Which is, we have a system for 400 years, starting in Germany, where the faculties of each department get to hire faculties in that department. They get to tenure them, which means they can drift, as they have, to the left and then to being woke. And it's very hard.
What happens to places like islands where they're so incestuous that they're only in between? Do you know what kind of people are finally...
Yeah, that's a very good comparison to certain universities.
Yeah, it is. It is.
You keep perpetuating...
What about CBS and CNN? We didn't...
man, you're like a rabbit trap.
We got to, because we get you here, we haven't got enough time.
Obviously there's regulatory issues there, but David Zaslav, who happens to be a friend, truly understands that you've got to consolidate as much content as possible.
If you want to survive.
If you want to survive. And Sherry, Red Zone wants to get out of Paramount, so he's got to make a bid for it. It's hard to assess antitrust at the moment. I was somewhat surprised that Random House Simon & Schuster got knocked down, and we'll see even in the airline industry. Consolidation in the media content industry is more complicated because it's hard to know what you're talking about when it's the market. What does Netflix feel? Is it part of it? So I think there's a good shot to go through.